What is it that makes the Conservatives so unpopular? I'll compile a sort of list as we work through. But I did mention we'd hear from some senior Tories. First up, a former Deputy Prime Minister, Damien Green, who actually entered Parliament as Conservative MP for Ashford on the night of that Blair landslide back in May 1997. And I asked Mr Green why his party had become so unpopular just over 4 years on from winning that stonking 80-seat majority.
Well, because we've had a period of extreme economic difficulty following pandemic, the war, and so on in Ukraine. And we have just started to turn it around, and people haven't noticed yet. But on this poll, it's always possible to get overexcited about individual poll. All polls are just snapshots of today. They're not predictions of what's going to happen in 9 months' time. But absolutely, the Conservative Party and the government has got a huge amount of work to do to convince people that we should continue to be the stewards of the economy and the country. And that's what this year needs to be all about.
All right. Lastly, I've known you well down the years. You're not rattled at all, Damien, by the level of this.
Well, it doesn't tell me anything I didn't know yesterday.
Your level, not you personally, but your level of unpopularity. I think people would rather go to the dentist than vote Conservative.
Well, at the moment, we're doing very badly in the opinion polls because, as I say, it's been a tough period for people. I think we've turned the corner now. I think bringing inflation down is hugely important because that's the basis for getting growth back in the economy and allowing people to have real terms wage increases, which is people are now getting for the first time for years. It's not surprising. They've been very unhappy and they are still unhappy. We need to turn it around.
Should have said go to the dentist, ask if they can find one. In many cases, you can't even find a dentist under the Conservatives. Here's just some of the emails. Lying, self-serving, corrupt, divisive, bigoted scum, says Steve in Colchester. John in Medway, you've asked for a word as to why Tories are so unpopular. Well, not a word, just one reason. Anyway, John, I'm grateful. You just simply say corruption. Tim says it's not unfair to hate the Tories after a decade of austerity, cutting libraries, community centres, council budgets, and constant schemes to devalue the NHS. A lot of things to answer. Ashley, you're on the radio. Are you a Tory? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, I am.
We
very
found
much
one.
Tory.
We found him.
I'm very much a Tory, and I'm a member of the Tory party. I have been since I was able to be so. I'm now 34.
Okay.
However, I think even the most blinded Tory can't really defend the indefensible.
Can I take you back a few years? What made you decide you wanted to join the Conservative Party?
I think it's just my upbringing. Saying that though, my parents, my father doesn't vote, and my mother has always voted Lib Dem. So I suppose it's just my upbringing, coming through school and understanding, debating and understanding what you stand for as a person. And on paper, I think it always sounds really good or looks really good.
So who was the party leader when you signed up, Ashley?
When I signed up, it was David Cameron was the Prime Minister,
okay.
And he was the leader. But I remember when I was a kid, I always used to admire William Hague, strangely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Now, what's gone wrong?
What hasn't gone wrong? I think if you look at recent times, Nick, I think obviously Liz Truss crashing the economy was just, I think, the lowest of the low for the Tory party. I think if you look at Partygate, I also think even if you look at more recent times, I think last week or the week before, Rishi Sunak was in Nottingham at a school, but he didn't go and visit any of the people that are affected by floods 5 miles up the road.
Yeah.
I think it's just this lack of empathy that the party seems to have. And I think also the lack, and funny enough, we have a common sense minister. Shame he didn't get on the phone to Rishi Sunak and say to him, well, common sense would say if you're 5 miles up the road, go and, even if it's for 10 minutes, to show your face and understand the devastation.
Yeah, that's Esther McVeigh, of course, is common sense.
I think, I think also, Nick, you have to look at the fact that, the Tories have been in power for 14 years. They've had some really strange things happen, like COVID, for instance. But I think after 14 years, I think change is always wanted. I think things get a bit stagnant and people get a bit fed up with the same jargon, the same thing going round and round and round. And
when you wake up on the Friday morning after this year's general election, and hopefully you hear me or one of my LBC colleagues, if we're still with you, be able to say that we now have a Labour government, Sir Keir Starmer is in by X amount, what will go through your heart and mind? What do you think?
I will be very frustrated because I have a I have a very long-running bet with one of my friends who's a staunch Labour voter, and I said whenever the next Labour government gets in, if it's ever in my lifetime, which I'm sure it will, I'll have to pack bags and move over to Spain until they're out. So I have to move my wife and my son over to Spain, which I don't think they'll be too happy.
You're not really going to go to Spain, are you?
No.
Right, okay.
I don't think so. It's a long-running joke.
It's a long-running gag, so you fit right. Okay, I'm ready to leave the country, as people often say. Ashley, thanks for that. I think possibly we're getting closer to that time, but who knows? A lot can happen. Liz in Callington, why are the Conservatives so unpopular?
Because they're so divided, and there's a reason for that. Local constituencies are no longer able to choose their candidates. That's gone to head office, who choose, surprise, surprise, the Remainers. So we've got half of them Remainers, half of them Leavers, and that's divided the party. And there's arguing, there's bickering going on all the time. You can't rule like that. It's dreadful.
Is there anything they can do to turn the tide?
Yes, let it go back to, well, it's a bit too late now, but let it go back to the local the people to choose who they want to stand for them.
Given they might only have 10 months left, I would have thought possibly if they go in October, or maybe even less, what can they do on a policy foot? Or is there anything they could do on a policy footing, Liz?
Yes. Cut taxes, get rid of all that nonsense, yes. Give people money, because when you've got money, you spend it. And that gets the whole thing going again.
Agree with you there. The fact that the tax take is so high is utterly indefensible, I would suggest, as someone who has, not always, by the way, I know you all think, I haven't exclusively voted Conservative my entire adult life. I don't know which one I'm going to vote this time, dear God, no idea. But no, I have not always voted Conservative, but obviously I'm Conservative leaning, and it is indefensible, the current taxation level. Thanks, Liz. Raj in Manchester. Raj, why are they so unpopular?
Good morning, Nick.
Hello.
The reason why I think they're most so unpopular is they're just out of touch with the actual people, the actual public. I mean, they're saying the number one priority for Rishi Sunak and his team is stopping the boats. But I don't think that's what the people, the people of the UK really. That's not their priority.
It was one of his five.
The National Health,
wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's his number one priority was the boats, and he's not even able to do that.
Okay, I think in fairness, the man did give us 5 key areas. But anyway, go on with the point you want to make, sir. Yeah.
The point is, if you ask people on the street generally what their number one priority is, the boats wouldn't be one of them. And that seems to have taken over so much of their efforts, so much of their time, so much of the resources, that everything else seems to become second, third, fourth, fifth, so much further down the food chain, if you like. The NHS, the cost of living crisis, the fuel prices, all these sort of things are more what people want to sort of have dealt with than the few, the 50,000 people that come on the boats every year. That's not significant. It only seems to be a big priority for a few Conservative members, and that's not. They don't represent the most of the UK public, do they?
It'll be interesting to see, Raj. Certainly, they've devoted a lot of time and effort, and God knows how much money to the disastrous Rwanda scheme. Raj, thank you for that.